I'm a published author and my debut novel, The Exes, was published by Penguin Random House, and today's video is going to be all about me giving advice on how to write amazing characters. Because the truth is that readers will only ever really want to read your book if they connect with your characters. So they have to feel well fleshed out, they have to feel relatable, they have to be exciting, memorable, and that's honestly the only thing that is going to get the attention of literary agents and editors at varying publishing houses. If you do not connect with the character, you don't really care about the story much either. I mean, the plot could be amazing and there could be incredible things happening, but if you're not connected with the character, you don't want to read about it because you don't care about all the dangers or how high the stakes are or how thrilling it is and how incredible the pacing is. You need to be connected with the character to care about the journey and to care about everything they're going to go through in the rest of the novel. Here are the 5 tips that can really help you to write incredible characters that will make your book truly unputdownable. Firstly, to create an amazing backstory. This will give your character so much depth, and I highly recommend it to create the backstory, especially of your main characters, like create the entire backstory before you even start working on your first draft. This way you will know your character intimately and you will write about them with such depth, and that will really shine through. Your character needs to have a detailed history. You need to know about their identity very intimately, especially as the writer. Now, you need to be careful because you can really go into so much depth in building up your character and then doing info dumping in your novel, which is actually going to be a deterrent. People don't want to have so much information. They want, the dialogue, they want the pacing to be fast, especially nowadays where people have such short attention spans. You need to make things happen, and you need to make things happen very quickly. There can't be too much info dumping. So actually make really detailed character profiles for yourself first and foremost as the writer. And then if you really want to include a lot of the backstory into the narrative, you need to break it up into small pieces and fit it in throughout the narrative instead of just info dumping in chapter 1 or in the earlier parts of the book. And honestly, you can actually keep a lot of that information to yourself. You don't necessarily need to tell your readers every single thing about your character, but if you know it, you will write about them in a different way. You will connect with your character in a different way. And because you'll know them so well, you'll have like little nuggets of information that are just so specific to them. It will make them so realistic and flawed and three-dimensional and interesting. And just that having that backstory, just having that history to how they came to be the way they are is just so incredible to creating well fleshed out and deeply thought out characters. Secondly, the character arc. Now again, this is something I believe personally that you need to work on before you even start writing your first draft, because your first draft will not have a strong main character. It will not have a compelling protagonist without this. If you do not work on their journey, on their character development and growth, the things they go through, what is their main motive and goal, you will constantly find that your character is just lacking in just like holding people's attention and having like that really strong presence on the page. So you need to figure out what the journey of your character is. Think about their beginning, the middle, the end. How will they grow? What is it they want in the beginning? What is it that motivates them? What is their incentive? And ensure that it is your character that is pulling the plot along. Because honestly, readers will never get invested into the story and the plot if they are not invested in the character, if they don't care about them, if they don't want to be like so attuned to every single aspect of their journey. So think deeply about the beginning, the middle, the end of your story, especially with regards to your character, your protagonist. How will they develop? How will they change? What is their character arc really going to look like, and what will it feel like to the readers to be a part of that journey? The third point, and probably one of my favorites, is to work on character quirks. Think about what makes them different. Is it a scar? I'm pretty sure Harry Potter came to your mind. Or is it that a character is very much overlooked, quite simple, ordinary, and yet the future of the world literally lays on their shoulders? I am referring to Frodo Baggins. These characters are so iconic and memorable, and it's because of how well they have been developed, how relatable they are. I mean, Harry Potter's a wizard, and yet so many of us felt so connected to him because he's an ordinary boy. He struggles with his family life, he struggles with school, and then he finds out he's a wizard and he's off to a whole new location. It's dealing with discomfort as a young person. It's dealing with, you know, being thrust into a new environment and having to adapt to it. There are just so many relatable aspects. So think about your character's quirks. What are the physical things that make them very distinct and memorable, and what is their personality like, and how does that personality show up in different situations that they're actually put into, because that's the only way you can really show their personality, through how they communicate with other people and how they deal with different scenarios. And honestly, something I really have to emphasize over here is originality. Don't try to copy other people. Those characters are already out there, they're already done. Think about what you can do to make your characters as unique as possible. Make your characters' quirks different, make them your own. Really do your research, or even reflect on your life, on your childhood, on your experiences. What you need to do to make a truly compelling novel and story is to think about a unique character that hasn't been read about before. If you're also, for instance, writing about a young wizard who has a scar, there's only ever going to be one thing that's going to be in people's minds. So you need to come up with your own quirks for your characters, their own personality. Make it distinct, make it unique, play around with it, make it fun, and don't be afraid to be different. The fourth point is to build strong bonds in your novel. Honestly, this makes novels so exciting, whether it's like the romance or like friendships or familial bonds and family relations. Like, these are the things that draw out the most intense emotion from readers. Like, that is what gets readers so invested. Your character is never going to exist in a vacuum. Think deeply about the connection that there will be between your protagonist and all the other people in their life. That is going to be the most profound way, and perhaps the only real way, that you can show what your characters really like. How are they in a romantic relationship? How are they with other people in their school setting, for instance? How are they with friends or in the workplace? And honestly, if you want to make your story more interesting, make the people around them really unique as well. Make their conversations and their interactions with these people so intriguing and different, and just really something that readers won't be able to put down. So essentially, you need to work on building a well fleshed out protagonist, and also having characters around them that are also quite realistic, and just showing on the page how they're interacting and how that essentially will impact the protagonist, how that will change them, how that will impact their emotions or their thoughts or their actions. The fifth and final point is to make your main character as realistic as possible through doing the research. You want them to be super three-dimensional. You don't want them to fall flat and just be really sort of monotone throughout the novel. This really ties into the other points I've made about just focusing on your character arc and really thinking about how your character will develop, avoiding stereotypes and creating an amazing backstory for them. I really think this last point just ties all the other ones together in a really neat bow. Making your character three-dimensional is deeply linked onto research, in my opinion. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean research on the internet or through books. It can even be research through people watching, as weird as that may sound. It's actually one of the most amazing ways of finding out about the quirks of people and figuring out just their style of doing things. So something that I have done in the past is, if I'm in a bookshop or in a cafe, I will literally just take a bit of a look around me. And I'm such an introvert, and I generally avoided, in the past, I really avoided making eye contact with people, or even I would just be really keeping to myself. It was actually one of my author friends who told me how important it is to just keep a look around you, to just see the way people are interacting, what's going on in the world. And it really is such an incredible way of doing research as an author. You pick up on so many little things, so many little quirks that people have, the things that they do, and these things become so powerful on the page because it really humanizes your characters and makes them feel so real. So do research through a number of different means, especially if you're writing, I would say, literary fiction or a contemporary romance, something set in the real world. Make sure you kind of get your facts right. Even though it's all fictional, you want it to feel realistic, and that's never going to happen if you don't do your research into, for instance, the culture that you're writing about, or if it's historical, the point in time that you're writing about. So make sure you are well aware of the history and just the culture and just the context. Do your research into that, and then whenever you have your character who is going to be placed within that context, you can really shape them according to their environment and make them so three-dimensional and realistic. And also really do think about the people watching aspect. This doesn't even necessarily have to be you going out to do it. You can even watch YouTube videos, you can watch even movies. You can just focus on the small things that are actually the big things, really, but just focus on the small things that characters do that just make them so endearing, that just make you stop and think, oh, I've done that before, or you know, just like make them relatable and real and just so easy to get attached to. So these are all my points for writing good characters that make truly compelling stories and unputdownable narratives. Please do let me know what your tips are or anything that's really helped you to write great characters in the past. I look forward to catching up with you next time with more writing related videos. Do let me know if there's any writing tips in particular that you're keen for me to share, and I will be happy to oblige. Please do remember to support me through liking, commenting and subscribing, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!